Hey, I don't do these webcam things because like these webcam things are usually like I get like the whole perverted feel going to them no matter what you're talking about. A guy in his room looking into a webcam and saying anything comes out creepy. But the reason I'm doing this little thing right now is because I was about to send off my absentee voters ballot back to Florida. I'm in California right now where I spend a lot of time trying to work, but I still have my residency back in Florida and spend a lot of time there. And Florida's a swing vote, and since I'm a liberal, yeah, that's right. Um, I want to send my liberal vote back to Florida, so I'm gonna show you my ballot before I send it off, so you know who I'm voting for. As you can imagine, it's pretty much Democrats down the line. Look, I think it actually goes against my principles to just vote for a party down the line. All right, I was always against that. I'm a registered independent. I'm not a registered Democrat. The Democrats are fucking pussies most of the time, and they compromise their values and their principles and everything that we elect them to do. Um, at best, they fall short of that. Like I heard on real time the other day, D stands for Democrat because D is the grade that you get when you barely pass, but you're still disappointing. What's funnier is that he said that R is what Republicans use as a letter because R is the sound a pirate makes when it robs you blind and feeds you to the sharks. That pretty much. So for me, the Democrats almost the lesser of two evils. But um, in a government that's for the most part bought off and bought off more because of the whole Citizens United thing, where corporations can pretty much buy off elections now out in the open. There's one party that's just a little less bought off than the other, and that's the Democrats. I voted for the first time in 2000, and I voted for Ralph Nader for president because I really do believe in like supporting third parties. I used to be a libertarian, not the libertarians that you see now that are supposed libertarians. Libertarianism has been hijacked by the so-called Tea Party and conservatives and all that stuff. But I used to be libertarian when I did think, hey, everybody could just be on their own. I thought I was really a libertarian because I wanted to legalize pot and prostitution and drugs and all that shit. And I'm a social liberal. And I figured, hey, I don't want government in my life at all. I hate rules. As I've grown older, I realized that society needs social contract with itself, and you don't go through corporations to decide what are good rules and regulations, what are good things for society to go ahead and fund together, things like emergency services, the fire department, police, infrastructure, roads. You don't want to privatize that shit. I do believe in public options. I believe in the postal service and public universities and public schools. I would have liked to have had the public option in healthcare. So, and the Democrats at least stand for that shit. They don't necessarily deliver on all that shit, but they stand for it and they've protected it since the 30s. Since, the country really bought into this being a balance between public and private interests, right? Back in the 30s when we settled that. We saw what happens when in the 20s when you deregulate everything, and you also had social conservatives and with their temperance movement, and they outlawed, alcohol. Dude, so I support the Democrats because I think government has a place in society, especially a society that has 380 million people across an entire continent, especially in a day and age where we have cell phones and computers and internet, and we have television, we have all kinds of media, we have all kinds of financial products, we have all kinds of different markets, not just the market, but several different markets within the free market, and we need regulation, we need rules because there's just too many ways for the typical person to get fucked, and to put all your interests in corporations and private interests. Look, I'm all for people making money. I'm not asking for the check on capitalism, but I, as much as I distrust the government, I definitely, automatically don't trust someone who's trying to sell me something. You know, so I'm concerned with the haterade that the right is spreading, and a lot of people say, well, it's the liberals, it's you who support Obama who's drinking the Kool-Aid, right, who's buying all the bullshit. And look, in terms of Obama falling short on a lot of things, yeah. But I knew when I voted for him that he was a politician. And he is putting out a lot of legislation under the umbrellas of things that we wanted. We wanted healthcare reform. He put up half-assed healthcare reform. The way he put it in recent interviews, Rolling Stone and stuff, he makes a good point. He said, listen, he could have died on the hill fighting for the public option, right? Which I thought should have been in healthcare reform. I mean, there's just no argument. Why shouldn't we have the option to have the same healthcare policy our leaders in Congress that we elect, that they have? You know, we should be able to have that. And that's a great, you talk about competition, the free market's still out there. We still embolden them to sell us, you know, healthcare products. Why wouldn't we just have a government option as we do with education, postal service, all that stuff? And, you know, he's like, Obama said, you know, he could have fought tooth and nail for that, but then we wouldn't have any healthcare reform, which we've been trying to get for 100 years, which we tried really hard to get in 1994, and Hillary Clinton was crucified for it, and the Republicans, you know, they won a lot of seats, you know, in 1994, and they took over the House and the Senate, and I hope that doesn't happen this time. The people that are buying into what the right is saying are the ones that are drinking the Gatorade, though. I keep on saying Gatorade. I don't know the five. Maybe I'm from Florida, but they're the ones drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay, they're the ones buying all this contradictory shit. I mean, you got these people now. They kind of taken where libertarians began. There's only one Republican that I trust in Congress, and that's Ron Paul. He's a psychopath, but he's, you know, if you're gonna be a libertarian, you want to be into limited government. I mean, really get into. He's also against nation building, and he's against wars. He's for legalization of drugs. You know, Jesse Ventura is another libertarian. I mean, these people who claim to be libertarians, these people who claim to be Tea Partiers, and you know they really are for the most part what we accuse them to be, which is white people scared of losing their country to minorities and liberals and um, you know just you know other people, people that they don't believe are Americans the way that they're Americans, and there's also the rural versus urban, you know, culture war, and dude, I'm not. They're just. It's fueled by that. You know, you got. It's funny. I saw. You know, first of all, on Fox News, when you watch Fox News, there's literally less news items than if you go to MSNBC or CNN because they can only report on shit that makes the president look bad. When you go to MSNBC, they're going and they're not, you know, shy about pointing out where the president is fucking up. One side is a lot more sane than the other. You know, um, these people, they're all for limited government, but they only want limited government now. These Tea Party people, they only want limited government now that government works for minorities and for the poor. These are the people that they can't stand, you know, on the Republican side. And sometimes they get the average Joe who might be poor, but is white, lives in middle America, and they play on those culture war strings. The people that are behind, that are funding the Tea Party, the big corporations, the multinationals, and you know, all these interest groups, they don't give three shits about the old white poor person. But because they want their vote, they know they can play those strings. And they can confront them and they can play up the whole black Muslim president thing and, you know, Mexicans taking over this country thing and poor people earning unemployment on their dime, you know, which pisses them off. You want to know how stupid these Tea Party people are? I went on Fox News. They have a list of what government program would you like to abolish. They had the Postal Service up there. They had National Archives. They had a couple other things. I should look it up, but I don't want to. I saw it before. Actually, like 15% of these, you know, there was like 5 options. Oh, one of the options was all. But 15% of them wanted all these things cut. Like 20% wanted the U.S. Postal Service cut. You know, in a bind, I sent something on through FedEx the other day. FedEx being a private company, it was $40, a little package to Miami, 3 days. The Postal Service, 99.9% of the time gets it there, and they charge 7, 8. What is the priority? The fat box. I mean, listen, guys, we want government to work for us, and to do that, you gotta vote for Democrats. So, to make a long story short, this is my ballot. I am voting for one non-Democrat, and that's Charlie Crist. The reason I'm voting for Charlie Crist is because he will caucus with Democrats. He will give them his ear, and Kendrick Meek doesn't have a chance. Everyone else voting for a Democrat, right? And you should too. Peace.